This Mercedes is still stupid. This is Cheyenne. Okay, it's not her, it's her car. She has a Mercury Marauder. She absolutely loves that car. It's her baby. Until about 3 weeks ago when she had an accident. Veered off the road down a very steep hill and into a tree. This is her Marauder now. Needless to say, it did not make it from this accident. It is completely totaled. You can see the roof is caved in. She did make it, but unfortunately in the accident, her left arm was crushed so badly that it had to be amputated. So now this girl in her 20s has to adjust to life with just one arm. She has remarkably high spirits about the whole situation, but let's help her out. There's a link in the video description to her GoFundMe campaign. Let's help her afford her medical expenses, her basic living expenses, since she's going to have to take quite a bit of time off work. Let's help her afford another car to replace the Marauder that she loved so much. And let's make her dream come true. She's very much looking forward to having a robot arm, or at the very least a prosthetic that doesn't suck. She needs something to look forward to. Let's help make that happen for her. Again, there's a link in the video description below this video to her GoFundMe campaign. And one little note on that campaign, there is a goal amount listed that's already been hit. Please ignore that. That goal amount is way too low to afford all the stuff I just mentioned. Let's help her out together. Thank you. In a video a couple months back, I showed you this glorious straight-piped V8 wagon, told you why I bought it, and explained the many ways it had broken since I bought it. Well, you'll be happy to know that since I put out that video, this car has been completely trouble-free, and I've learned how to lie convincingly. In other words, it's never stopped breaking. The only thing that's reliable about this car is its unreliability. Here's a big picture list of all the things that have gone wrong or broken on this car since I put out that last video. And these are just the big ticket items. This thing has two batteries. It has a small auxiliary battery right about here under the hood, and then it has a regular sized starter battery in the back. When the small auxiliary battery needs replacing, the car will tell you. It'll pop up a message on the dash that says battery low, convenience features disabled. So it turns off things like power outlets and heated seats and stuff like that. It started doing that. It did that for about a month before I finally replaced that little battery in the front. I couldn't find one for Mercedes, so I had to replace it with a similar sized motorcycle battery, but it worked just fine. However, after I replaced that small battery, the messages didn't go away. This is just because the starter battery also needed to be replaced, but I didn't know that at the time. In a typical car with one battery, if the battery starts to go dead, the car will have trouble starting. But in this thing, with its two batteries, if the starter battery starts to die, the car will use the auxiliary battery in the front to trickle charge the main battery so that it never has any trouble starting. So because this thing never had any trouble starting, I assumed that meant the battery was fine, until it started doing this. Yeah, it took a while for me to figure out that the car telling me it has no brakes means the battery needs to be replaced. Not exactly a easy correlation to make. Now, is that complete because I'm just not familiar with this car? Yes. Then after replacing both batteries, the car settled down for about a week. And then I was driving down the road and this message popped up. Given I had just seen that message multiple times when the batteries were dying, I immediately ignored it. Until I went to use the brakes and I found out they weren't there. I shouldn't say they weren't there, they were just there in a heavily diminished capacity. It was a little bit scary. So I immediately turned the car around and drove home, slowly, loaded this thing up onto a trailer and took that trailer to the nearest Mercedes dealership where they fixed the brakes for free. Apparently the SBC braking system, no, that is not small block Chevy like I thought, the system in this car is a known failure point, so Mercedes will fix it for free as part of a recall or a class action lawsuit or something like that. I don't know what the deal is. They fixed it for free, and I got the car back with working brakes. Then after picking it up from the Mercedes dealership with a braking system that actually worked, all was smooth sailing for literally 12 hours. Then a new problem popped up, this time with the transmission. Again. This one's pretty easy to demonstrate. Take a listen. It's stuck in second gear, doing all sorts of other weird things, and the shifter controls sometimes don't respond, but that's the most notable characteristic of the transmission right now, is that it has one gear. Sounds good. It's not right, though. These problems may not sound all that bad, or maybe they do. I mean, it lost brakes and transmission within the span of a week. Anyway, these problems happen with such frequency that this thing makes me anxious to take it anywhere. This car gives me anxiety. Just in the span of driving this wagon, I've become intimately familiar with the smells of hot coolant, trans fluid, and engine oil. This car has dumped the contents of its coolant on the ground like 5 times now. So now, anytime I smell hot coolant, I have near instant anxiety, and a car should not require you to develop coping mechanisms just to drive it. But hey, it's not all bad. This car also encourages me to be more social. Every once in a while, it'll pop up a little message on the dash that says, visit workshop. You know, to see my friends. That's what it means. Hey, you know, you could use Truebill to track subscriptions like that. What? Truebill? It's a personal finance manager app thing. It can track subscriptions like that. You can even cancel them for you if you want. I mean, that sounds kind of convenient, but I could also just look at my bank statement and cancel these things manually. Is that all it does? Oh no, it can do quite a bit more. It can negotiate bills for you. Last month, it negotiated my internet bill for me to a lower rate, and all I had to do was sign in. It can track spendings for you. Last month, it notified me that I spent $430 at Dunkin'. So I bought a coffee pot. You can use it to cancel those subscriptions you don't want anymore. You can do a lot. You can even monitor your credit score. Okay, that does sound better than manually checking everything. What's it called again? And how much does it cost? It's Truebill, and you can check it out for free at truebill.com/agingwheels. Free? Yeah, there's also an optional premium version too. Ah, and how much does that cost? Oh, you decide. You mean like there's different tiers, or? No, you just choose how much to pay. They give you a slider and you can pick anywhere from $3 to $12 per month. That's it, you just pick. Okay, I'll try it out. And thanks to Truebill for sponsoring this video. Real quick, those things I said earlier about it telling me that I spent an absurd amount on Dunkin' last month and it negotiating my internet bill for me for a lower rate, those are both true. So I highly recommend you check out Truebill for yourself. It's helped me out a lot, and I'm going to keep using it for the foreseeable future. Again, if you want to check it out, that's truebill.com/agingwheels. And thanks again to them for sponsoring this video. So what am I going to do with this absolute problem child of a Mercedes? Well, before I figure that out, I got to fix the transmission. It's no good as a single speed. That's why I bought this box of parts. I bought a Mercedes transmission service kit with all the typical parts, like a conductor plate, connector, filter, fluid, all that normal stuff. This is actually an empty box, but let's pretend there's parts in it. I got that stuff because I didn't know what else to do, but thankfully I don't need any of this stuff in that empty box. Turns out the problem with the transmission was actually that the fluid was low. Again, because the transmission is leaking from somewhere. I'm glad I can go ahead and return all these parts because I didn't think they would do anything. I already got a service kit for a Mercedes transmission and installed all these parts back in December, which was not that long ago. I didn't think that doing the same job over again would make any difference. My only thought was that maybe because the parts I installed were of the non-OEM variety, that they were bad or faulty right out of the box. But I had no idea. I was just going to try it again because I didn't know what else to do. Thankfully, I don't have to because it was just low on fluid. Topped it up, the transmission's working again. For now, anyway. Okay, so now that the transmission's working again, what's the plan with this car? Well, I could keep it. But like I said, this thing gives me massive anxiety. I could work on it. I could keep working on it. I could make it a good, reliable, usable car again, but I frankly don't want to. So I reached out to the dealer that we bought this car from, and he has very graciously offered to buy it back. This man here is Alan Stoyanovich. This is his dealership, LA Unique Motor Sales. This is where I bought the Mercedes from, and this is where I'm selling the Mercedes back to. I am selling it back to him for less than I bought it from, so he can make a little bit of money off of it after he fixes the small amount of problems that are wrong with this car. Now, Alan, before you sold me this Mercedes, it was your daily driver for a year, right?
Yes.
Okay. Did it break down on you?
Not really.
No?
No, it was a good, reliable car.
So what you're telling me is that this Mercedes just doesn't like me?
Yeah, I guess I would say that. Yeah, it's a bigger car than it's what you have in collection.
Yeah, that's definitely true. It's also the most powerful car that I have by like tenfold, but that's just me. So, Alan, what are you going to do with this car after you buy it back?
Well, I got to fix a few things that you messed up on it. And then, you know, a few things that you fixed, I got to make it in a unique way. And then I'm going to probably drive it for a little bit because I do love this car and I missed it a lot.
Yeah.
And then probably it's going to go for sale.
So this car was a problem child for me. As you know, it constantly broke down on me and it makes me anxious to drive. But I absolutely love this thing. It's a straight pipe V8 wagon. It has more luxuries in it than I've ever had in any other car, and I am legitimately going to miss it. I mean, it has friggin' air suspension, for Pete's sake. I can see why you wanted to buy it back.
Of course, yeah. I told you when you bought it, hey, if you ever decide to sell it back, I want it.
Yeah. Huge thanks to Alan for buying back the problematic 4MATIC. If you would be interested in looking at that Mercedes for yourself, well, you can find it at Unique LA Motor Sales in House Springs, Missouri. Unless he sold it, or it caught fire or something. I don't know. But if you're interested, that's where you can find it. And thanks for watching.